Hey guys, welcome back to Blind Strike Exotics. This is kind of like the first real new video that I've made in quite a while. I've kind of taken the month of November off and kind of getting my stuff back together after the breeding season finished. And I finally got my ARS 1065 rack. It came pretty late. I think when I ordered it, it was around August 24th, and I received it on December 6th. So I think we were close to like over a month and a half past the initial 8 to 10 week time frame of when it was supposed to be delivered. So if you are ordering an ARS rack, and when I did post this on Instagram yesterday, somebody said they were waiting 4 months for theirs. Apparently parts are very slow coming into ARS. I know they told me they were waiting on the tubs initially before they sent everything. So their lead time still says 8 to 10 weeks on the website when I was checking my tracking information. Expect longer than that. I was almost at like 3.5 months. Somebody else said they were at 4 months already. So expect it to take a long time to get to you. Now I love these racks. Again, you know, they're usually significantly cheaper than buying a Freedom Breeder. The downside of that is that the Freedom Breeders, they're all pre-assembled. With the ARS racks, you have to put everything together yourself. And you know, to me, I have the time to do that, so I prefer to save the couple extra bucks and, you know, build this myself. This is my third ARS rack now. I'm hoping by the time I need another rack, I can afford the Freedom Breeder, because I'm tired of building these. And this one specifically has kind of just started to get on my nerves with how they're built. And a lot of it has to do with these individual the toppers here that go on top of the rack levels, for two reasons. One is that with my other racks, which is the 7030 or the 7030, yeah, and the 5540, these toppers, you actually are able to remove them after the rack is built. They come out, you just kind of bend them down a little bit and they pop out, and that also affects how you install them, because you actually do that after you assemble each level. The difference with this rack is these toppers are not removable, and they actually need to be installed during the level building process, which I didn't figure out. I didn't read the instructions very well because I already built 2 of these and I kind of figured I knew what I was doing. And after I built the first level and then I went to go pop these in, I realized that, hey, they're not fitting right. You can't actually, it's gonna be too hard to show you, but basically the part where you slide this into, the little kind of lip there, is actually blocked by this metal bar. You can't actually get to it like you can on the other racks. So I had to disassemble the whole thing, put them in, and you know, do that. So that was kind of my fault, but it was still a pain in the butt. And you know, it's just kind of a frustrating beginning to this after already getting this rack a month and a half late. The other thing I'm finding, and I don't know if this is the manufacturing process or what, but now this happens at least once on every level, and it might have something to do with the way you have to assemble this. These crossbars that, you know, run the length of the, let me get you one here. These crossbars run the length of the rack. You screw it into, like this part screws into the metal bar on one side, and then you screw it into the metal bar on the front. This little ridge here is where you slide the toppers into, and this little track here is where you slide the tubs into. These little lips here that you slide the toppers into, you know, the part that typically you can remove with the bigger racks, I have found that at least once on every level, this is almost next to impossible to slide the shelf topper into, and I'm actually going to show you that right now. Now, I don't know if that's because, you know, both sides of this aren't attached to the front part metal part and the back metal part, which is creating more stability, or if it's just something with the manufacturing process with this track here. But you know, I'm not I'm not Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson or anything, but these are typically, you require a little bit of force to push it in. But as you can see, I am really trying really hard to push this in there, and it's not moving. And it's stuck on this one side. It is not pushing in whatsoever. If I show you this side here, the next one over, I probably will go straight in. And you can see one hand, little to no force. This is usually you meet a little bit of resistance towards the end. This one's getting a little harder. This one's even getting stuck now. This one won't go in at the end here, but it went in. Now, I don't really remove these toppers too much, in the other racks anyways. So I'm probably not going to care that these are never needing to be removed. But now this one, let's see. That slid right in. That's normally the maximum amount of force that you need to push on them to get them in. Usually you meet like a little bit of resistance, but you shouldn't have any trouble pushing it in. This one's a little more snug, but it went in still. This one, the other issue is because this frame isn't completely built as you're sliding these in, like this side's in here, and this side you have to keep fighting with the frame of the rack level to keep it in line here. As you can see, there's like a big gap that this slides back and forth. It also makes it a little more difficult when you're attaching the other cross post. So, as you can see, it's not not budging. Let's see. Holy shit. So, as you can see, that is just a lot more force than you would expect to have to use to slide a piece of plastic in. I'm only halfway in with it right now, and it's going to require a lot more force to push it in there. So it's my experience building the first two racks was, it's a lot of work. It takes you a couple hours, but it's worth it to save the money over buying the Freedom Breeder racks if you don't have the money for the Freedom Breeder racks. My experience so far with this one has been that I'm over it. I don't want to build another one of these, especially because with the hatchling rack here, you actually have more of these cross posts, which means you're putting more screws into every single level. Typically, these cross posts that go front to back, you're putting 2 screws into the back bar and 2 screws in the front metal bar. In the 7030, you only have 2 of these. In the 5540, you have 3 of these. And in this one, I have 4 of these. So you're adding 4 screws with each post. And I think I counted, in between putting on these little stoppers that go on the back, which is 9 screws across the back, plus all the screws in the front. I think there's a total of like 31 screws that go into each single level. That doesn't include the bolts you're putting on to the casters on the bottom, which aren't hard. Easier if you have a socket wrench, which I have. If you're buying one of these and you don't have a socket wrench, just get one. It's worth it, probably 10, 15 bucks. And there's 300-400 screws that you're putting into this. And the screws aren't easy to put in. It's not like you're just like driving screws into any old piece of wood or piece of metal. You're kind of fighting to get these in sometimes. So, this might be the last one I buy. The other issue that I had with this rack is that you are sent these little pieces of Velcro and padding to help affix the heating elements, and they just stick onto both sides of the rack. The Velcro needs to go on the sides because the heating elements have Velcro. I don't know if you'll be able to see it back there. They have Velcro underneath them, and you just That's how you stick it on there, and it keeps it nice and safe. Well, they only sent me like half of the ones I needed, because instead of sending me all Velcro pieces, they sent me some of these pieces that are just padding. Now, on the other racks, what they did is they would send you a bunch of these padding pieces and then a bunch of Velcro pieces that were separate. And you would have to attach the Velcro to the padding. On this one, which is nice, the Velcro is already attached to the padding, so you don't have to make that extra step of sticking them together. The problem with this is they sent me half Velcro, half plain padding, and now I only have enough Velcro for 7 levels. So now, after building my third one, I found it easier to put the Velcro on and then attach the heating elements as I attach each single level, because it's harder to weave these heating pads through here after you already build the whole rack. Now I'm on, I think, my 7th level, and I can't build anymore unless I want to have to put the heating elements on afterwards, because I ran out of Velcro, so I have to wait for them to send me the Velcro. So, that's not a manufacturing issue. That was just sort of a whoopsie on their end as they were putting everything together. But, it's just another part of the equation that just kind of makes me frustrated with the whole building process in general. So I don't know if I'll be buying another one of these. The quality of these to me is still top notch. I have no issue with them. Like I said in my other videos about ARS racks, when I moved here to this new house, we only had my 70-30, and my wife was helping me move it by herself, and we were doing it in the middle of the night when it was raining outside, and we beat the crap out of it. Dropped levels, just completely destroyed it. I was expecting it to be sort of broken when we got here, and it still looked pretty much brand new except for a couple scuffs. So, I've beaten the crap out of one of these racks, and it still looks and works perfectly. So the quality of the rack itself and the durability, I would have to say, would be on par with what Freedom Breeder offers. I also actually like the fact in these hybrid racks that there is more plastic, because it reduces the weight by a lot. These rails are all plastic. The pieces that hold the metal posts together are all plastic, and it reduces weight a lot. It probably makes it a lot easier to move around. Definitely, if you're moving locations, unless you're lucky enough to have enough clearance to wheel the whole rack, you're going to have to disassemble it level by level and carry them everywhere. Just that little bit of reduction in weight probably makes a huge difference when you're moving the levels. But the fact that these aren't removable and you got to put it together, which makes the whole building of the whole rack a little more difficult, because after you do get all these in, these rails, as you can see, there's a lot of give in them, and they are not lined up straight when you go to put on the front metal bar. So there's even you got to worry about trying to line everything up, and then you got to drive the screw in there, and the screws don't always go in perfectly even. So then you're worried about not trying to strip the screws. Just little pains in the butt that I wish I didn't have to deal with, and hopefully I don't have to deal with it again. Again, it's usually money. The first 3 racks I bought have been money issues, where I didn't have the extra grand or whatever to spend on the Freedom Breeders. But I'm hoping that by the time I need a new rack, I can get away from having to do this. At this point, I've probably spent 3 to 4 hours building this, and I think I bought, the rack comes with 13 levels, and I bought an extra one, so I have 14 levels to build. I have 5 on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This will be my 6th level, so I still have a ways to go. That includes, I did pre-build all of the back bars that have these backstops. I pre-screwed all that stuff in. The side bars, which are the ones on the sides here, they only require 1 screw, but I did all that first too, which is how they tell you to do it in the instructions. So I do all that stuff first, which equates for some of that time, but it's still a process. I probably would assume that I still have, I don't know, maybe 3 more hours ahead of me. So, you could be looking at a whole day if you start this in the morning of building to get this done. So prepare for that. Make sure you count all your parts as you're going along. Make sure you have all the right parts. I feel like when I had the 5540, I was missing something too, and they had to send that to me, and I can't remember what that was. They're good with sending you the extra parts if they omit anything. With the amount of parts they put into each box, it's not surprising that you're missing something here and there, because there's 4 of these crossbars per level, and I had 14 levels, so it's at 28. There's 56 of these in the box. There's 5 of these for each level. Luckily, these come in cardboard boxes, like in 33 of them, so they actually fit together. There's not much calculation with that. But they have to there has to be 4 of these plastic pieces that connect all the metal bars together that they need to count out and put in there. So it's understandable that they forget stuff, but it's also frustrating that they forget stuff when it takes them, a month and a half, 2 months longer than they're supposed to, and they don't ship you everything you need to build it. And then little things like these things not, sliding in perfectly, it kind of just makes a time-consuming experience just a little more frustrating. So, this is almost, I would say, half done. Once I get it finished and get my hatchlings I have left from last season, I guess I should say, I'll show you the room, I'll show you the rack, I'll show you how I like it. I actually do like the tubs, and I can show you the tub real quick. I love these tubs. Coming from the Reptile Basics hatchlings tubs that I was using, these are fantastic. I chose to get the ones with the cup holders because if you saw my other video, the snakes dumping over the deli cups pretty much every day was making my life very difficult. So these are kind of like the perfect height for the hatchlings. The cup holder is going to make my life a lot easier. There's plenty of size in here, and I was even talking to Alex comes in and helps me once a week with feeding and everything, and he made a good point saying that this tub size is actually probably good for some of my 300 gram, 400 gram snakes that are like kind of picky eaters. They could probably still go in here and maybe give them a little more comfort. It might be a good size for them. So I may even put some of my picky eaters that are my smaller males or females that just kind of like it to have a little more snug of a rack or of a tub. Might actually be a really good size for them still. I would say if you had a snake that was very, very accustomed to being in a tight space, I bet you this could probably fit a snake 300 grams, maybe 400 if they really liked it tight. I actually have my Joker, one of my clown males, who I moved him up to the 5540 once he was about 400 or 500 grams out of a smaller tub. And he has not been eating since I did that. So I'm actually thinking I'm going to move him back down into this once I have it built to see if that makes him feel a little more comfortable. He even has a hide inside of that tub and he still does not like it. So I'm thinking that moving him into a smaller habitat is actually going to make him feel a little more safe. So I'm going to try that out and I'll let you guys know how that works as well. But this video is, I think, gone on long enough. I'll let you guys know how this looks when it's built, and hopefully the rest of it goes a little more smooth than it has so far. I already talked to them. I sent them an email literally right before I started recording this video and saying that I was missing some of the Velcro strips, and they already got back to me like halfway through this video saying, okay, sorry about that, we'll get them out to you immediately. So at least they're responding quickly. Hopefully I have them by the end of the week so I can finish this up and start using it. Well, at least half of it anyways. So thank you guys for stopping by, and I will post an update on this once I have it all finished.